Guns N' Roses, their new album. Did you know you can only buy that at Walmart?
Or on iTunes.
Oh, on iTunes too? I thought it... Oh, yeah, we listened to most of it on iTunes. But yeah, it seems crazy. Like, I don't know who Axl is as a person anymore, but apparently he's a guy who's directly affiliated with Walmart, which just seems weird to me. Did you watch that documentary, Walmart: The Death of a Nation, or whatever it was called?
No.
It was pretty interesting. I don't know how much of it was fact.
The people that my wife worked with, her bosses, they are really, really anti-Walmart, from what I hear.
A lot of people are. You're anti-Walmart, are you not?
I am.
And why? Have you seen the documentary?
I have not, actually. Truthfully, I wasn't aware of the existence of the documentary.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's called The Low Price of High... I don't know what it's called, but it's basically just about what a corrupt corporation they are. And they don't sell it at Walmart, I asked.
I don't like the huge amounts of money they donate to support causes that I'm against and political parties that I'm against. And also, I
Awfully
don't like
vague.
that they sell guns to everyone.
Do they? Would our... is there even a Seattle Walmart? And if so, would they sell us a gun?
Kmart's do, don't they?
Yeah.
They did in Bowling for Columbine, but Michael Moore, he makes shit up too.
I think the reasons people hate it in Yakima is like they don't like there was one that they were going to build out in the nice part of town, and it's been delayed for years because all the people there didn't want the kind of people who shop at Walmart coming to that side of town.
The people that shop at Walmart?
Yeah.
It seems everybody except for people that come full with soapbox doesn't care, and you can get a razor for 6 cents there. Like it's crazy cheap. I understand the appeal. I don't ever go myself, but that's because I don't drive and there's not one close.
We went in Colorado.
Oh yeah, I guess we did we?
Yeah, and it had a McDonald's inside, remember?
Oh yeah.
And they were selling the McRib.
And
Really?
Yeah.
Have you had a McRib?
I think so.
With a pickle. Oh,
Or
it's so
meat,
good.
I
gross.
think I
But
liked
that
it.
Simpsons, do you remember that Simpsons where they made fun of the McRib and Homer became like addicted to it and started following it all over the country? Of course, it was
No.
called something else.
Yeah,
not the McRib.
the crusty
but-
rib, I'm sure.
Yeah.
No, but you know, one thing I remember about Walmart has almost always had a McDonald's attached to it, no matter which one you're at. But you don't see it so much anymore, but only the Walmart exclusive McDonald's, you'd see some weird things show up on the menu. Like you could buy a Mc hot dog, I remember was one, and they had Mc pizza. It was the weirdest thing ever.
I remember always hearing that those at one point existed, but I don't know. McPizza, I can see. Did a McHotdog exist?
Yeah, it absolutely existed.
I don't know.
100%.
Did you have one? Was it just like a regular
No,
hot
I didn't
dog?
have one.
What
Who's
made
going to
it
buy a
Mc-
hot dog at McDonald's? Although I do remember as a kid, we used to go to McDonald's every Friday. And that was our big reward for the week. And they did at one time have a McFish and chip that I remember enjoying, but it was a limited time and it never came back.
I don't know.
You're looking at me like I'm lying. I
don't
know this
remember
to be
these
true.
things.
We're going to have to confirm on the internet.
Yeah.
Post pictures of the McFish and... Oh, it was good. It was good.
I also, back to the Walmart thing, it really pisses me off that they only sell CDs that are clean without explicit lyrics.
Really? And what is that, like 30% of CDs anymore?
Well, I mean, they make a version special for Walmart.
Oh, yeah, they do that, which I've always been against. The Walmart edit. Do they even try with somebody like Eminem, or do they just not sell him at all?
I wouldn't know because I don't shop
think
there,
there's
but I'm going to
clean
say they
versions of
try,
Eminem.
yeah.
That seems absurd
Well,
to
because
me.
they do radio edits anyway. It's basically
Yeah.
that same version.
And
yeah,
then for like
espresso.
their MTV video.
You know what I like is when they replace the fuck or the cunt with a hee-haw or some kind of sound effect. The radio tends to do that, and depending on what it is, it really makes me laugh.
I've never heard them do that on the radio.
You never heard the hee-haw?
No.
Mostly it's just like a second of silence, like randomly inserted in the song.
Yeah. And PJ, you listen to Yakima Radio, which Yakima Radio is a sad... I don't listen to the radio much at all anymore, not since the iPod. But I lived in Yakima for a few years, and they have, 8 classic rock stations, and everything else is Mexican. Like, there's nothing contemporary or new. And when it is, it's like for 2 hours. I remember working an office job and listening to the rock station, like the one cool station in Yakima. Cats, yeah, with a K. And they would 3 Doors Down. Remember that song, Kryptonite?
Yeah.
That one would come on like constantly, and they would latch on to 1 or 2 songs that were also on MTV, and it was just horrible.
I really only listened to the oldie station over there, Cherry FM.
Yeah, and is it the same oldies, or did they update it now and again?
No,
You
not
ever hear
really.
Ramones song on the oldie station?
No,
I always
it's always the
wondered
same
that.
songs I've always heard.
Yeah, at what point in time will like Pearl Jam?
I don't know. I think oldies
oldies
will always be what oldies is and has been since we were
Then
kids.
they'll be like 90s.
Right, yeah. It'll always, or Warm. What's the one our sister, strangely enough, is obsessed with the soft rock station. Every time I jump in a car with her, she turns it to 106.9. And they play like a lot of Shania Twain, a lot of Dixie Chicks.
Wow.
And she knows all the words to all of these songs.
I thought she'd be Radio Disney all the way, baby.
If
Do they have Radio Disney?
they used to, I know.
Oh, they still do.
They played a
totally.
lot of Weird Al back in the
Now
day.
they play nothing but Jonas Brothers all the time.
Or Hannah Montana.
Did they
Ashley
really play
Tisdale's
Weird
got a
Al?
CD. What?
Did they really play Weird
Yeah,
Al?
once upon a time. I remember Radio Disney used to sponsor those first couple of concerts we went to in the early mid-90s.
Wow, good memory. All I
Yeah.
remember was fucking Hawaiian shirt and bringing spatulas.
Well,
like
we didn't
everyone
do that.
else in the crowd. Yeah, we did. We at
We,
least
we did
brought-
we did neither of those things.
No, there's got to be pictures out there. Or we can ask Barry.
Do you know the spatula relevance when it
There
comes
were
to Weird Al?
Hawaiian
Is
shirts.
it from Eat It?
No.
Spatula
Then,
City.
Although he does love to write songs about food.
Yeah, he does. Wait, what was Spatula City to?
It was like a sketch.
Well, no, it showed up in UHF, the
Yeah.
movie. He was in one movie in 1989, UHF, and yeah, it was just basically
He's been in other movies. One of the Naked Guns.
the first and third Naked Gun I think he's in. He's also in Tapeheads, I guess. Have you seen that? I know he's in it. I looked at his IMDb recently. Yeah, for work.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I'm sorry, at work.
So yeah, Spatula City was. You brought spatulas.
We sell
Everyone did.
spatulas, and that's all. Barry's the one that was responsible for my unhealthy obsession with Weird Al Yankovic. Seriously, from I don't know, I'd say the age of 12 to the age of 16, the only I was gonna say CDs, but it would have been cassettes at the time that I owned were Weird Al or oldies like the My Girl soundtrack
Yeah.
and shit like that. I don't know. I got past that. I liked Modest Mouse until I heard him on the radio. Fucking sellouts.
You still love Weird Al, though. I mean, it was your
No, I
first
don't.
concert, and you
I
made
really-
sure it was your sister's first concert.
It took me because it was such an obsession. Of course, I'll still take my sister because it's a good first concert. It's a good first and second concert. I can speak on that as well. Yeah, it was just fun to bring her to that because she does like him, and I will when I used to make mix CDs for my sister occasionally for her birthday or something, in exchange for a real gift.
In lieu of a real gift.
In lieu, thank you. What were you talking about, Lucy Liu?
Charlie's Angels 2, I just watched that.
Which did you like better, that or Ghostbusters?
Oh, Ghostbusters by far.
I'm sorry, where did that question come from?
Because PJ was telling me that he just watched Ghostbusters for the first time.
Yeah, and
Oh, is
I
that right?
liked it.
You liked it? You didn't
But
love it though, right?
Entertainment Weekly called it the #1 comedy of all time.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I just don't see. I mean, the ghosts are kind of funny when I look back on it.
Not the one in the library. I remember that spooking the shit out of me at the beginning.
Who,
The first
old
ghost
lady?
they go in and check on? Yeah.
Yeah,
That
was
used to
pretty
scare
scary.
me.
Oh, that reminds me of that video thing with the literal videos.
Oh
And
boy!
then-
I first of all, I'll explain it, but I got to tell you a story.
Spankmonkeyvideo.com.
Shut
What
the
is it?
fuck up.
Film fake outs.
Shut up. I was telling PJ about this because we did stumble across this YouTube phenomenon. It's awesome. But yeah, so I'm explaining to PJ, like, because my bus is late, and so we're going to go catch a beer. And then, so I begin to explain to him what the concept is, and he just starts shitting on it immediately, and he'll never give it a chance. He'll never watch it.
I was not
He's
even-
like, oh, that's hilarious. What, you mean they make it sound like the real song, and it's not?
No, that's not true. I was listening, and I was basically saying, And then you're like, fuck you, you hate it. And I'm like, no, it's great. It sounds awesome.
So the idea, for those that don't know, it's
make up song
dustfilm.com. Yeah, but it's more than that. It's not like exactly Weird Al. They take a pre-existing music video. 80s videos are the best ones of the ones I've seen. What's one example? Aha.
Take On Me
Yeah.
by Aha.
But what's the better one?
It's
Tears
by
for
Tears
Fears.
for Fears.
I can't remember how the song goes.
The real song or the hilarious version?
The hilarious version starts.
We'll start with the hilarious version.
I've got a stack of books to return.
See, you're singing it before we've explained it.
I
The
know.
reason that this is funny.
I get it. She's returning some books, right?
No,
He
they
is.
take the music video that already exists, take that song for the music video, change the song so it's a very literal interpretation of what's happening on screen. So everything that's being sung is happening in the video as
So
it's
they wear
happening.
wigs to look like the musician?
No,
Hawaiian
they
shirts,
have.
they
They,
all show up
use
their
the
spatulas.
actual real video and
Right.
lay their song, their lyrics over it.
But like, is it new cars when they're recreating it, or do they like have to buy a whole bunch of old cars to make it look like the old video?
No.
How
It's-
convincing?
PJ, are you just fucking
How
with us?
convincing is the fake video?
it's a real video. They
Right.
use the actual video.
But
and
to be
just
fair, they
overlay.
are puppets instead of humans.
Actors in a video. Got it.
Anyway, it's hilarious. That's obviously our YouTube video this week.
Yeah, it really is great though. Especially because Tears for Fears, like really, I didn't think about how ridiculous that
I'm gonna
video
think of what that fucking
was.
song is called, by the way.
It's not Shout. Is it Head Over Heels?
Yeah, Head Over Heels. That's what it is.
Um,
It really is.
Tears for Fears' greatest hits. No, but I never realized how ridiculous
You know
that
song,
video
PJ.
was.
I know you don't know music, but something happens and I'm head over heels.
Yeah.
It's a good song. It's funny.
When did that song come out?
80s.
Yeah, like 83 maybe. The reason that I bring it up,
Specifically
though,
1980s.
is because there's this scene in the video shortly after the singer returns a stack of library books where he slowly...
Margaret, we've killed the joke.
No.
No.
Where I've got to connect it back so people don't think I'm fucking crazy.
Are you just ignoring PJ's dead stare?
So he saunters over to the old
Saunters, I
school,
like that word.
block of, like, what was that system in the library called? The Dewey
Stop right
Decimal
there.
System.
I'm sold.
DD.
The
I'm
Dewey
sold.
Decimal System. Can I connect, please?
Yeah.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
So he walks over and he pulls out the stack of cards, and just like in the Ghostbusters library scene at the beginning, all
all
the
fly
cards fly out, and the literal version totally calls them on their lame
They sing it as
Ghostbusters
it's
ripoff.
happening.
How does it go?
Something happens and I'm head over heels. I don't remember the fake lyrics.
Oh.
Just watch it for yourself, dude. Let's take a break.
What's the website?
Dustfilm.com.
Got it. Check.
Do you think they have any connection to the Dust Brothers?
I don't know who that is.
Is that
Famous
techno?
record producers?
Oh.
Behind Beck and some other stuff, I'm sure. Wow,
Damn
guys. Oh, I know what I wanted. I wanted to get you two in the same room to ask what the fuck you saw in Benjamin Button that I myself did not see.
Oh, did you
PJ
like it,
cried like a
Margaret?
bitch when he watched that movie.
Oh, PJ, I wept. I wept in the
Yeah.
lobby after the movie was over. I just couldn't control myself.
I had
And just to be
the
clear, it's
luxury
not
of-
because it was so bad, right?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
All right.
I got to see it at home on DVD, so that was great. It was
Is
a
that right? Did you get a
comfortable
screener?
Environment. Yeah.
You part of the Academy team this year?
Yeah, it was one of those for your consideration versions. But there was I know there was a scene missing, and it would get kind of weird in some parts, but I really liked the movie. I really
Is that
really
worth it?
did.
How much did you pay for that movie that is probably missing like a good 15-minute
No, no, no.
integral chunk?
It's about 2 minutes.
How do you
About 2
know?
Because he told me. He said,
Wait, let me ask you this.
He said, I
when
watched
the glitch
the-
in the movie happened, did he jump from being an old man to a baby?
"No, not yet."
Because then you missed something.
Not yet. But no, he told me. He said, I saw it in the theater and I watched this copy, and he said in the scene a grandma goes to get some medicine. I don't know. Not every scene in the movie was vitally important to the story,
Oh God, you can say that again, friend.
but a lot.
And Margaret, I know that we one thing I don't like to do, and I think you can agree with me on this. I think you and I have talked about it before, PJ. When we're exiting a movie, I don't like to be asked right after I'm leaving a movie, no matter what it is, how I feel about that. What'd you think?
Yeah.
Give
and
me
it
some time to
annoys
sit on
me
it.
to hear other people talking about it, too.
That doesn't annoy me. I don't mind listening to other people's take on them, unless they're idiots. But yeah, we did talk about Benjamin Button. You'd seen it once before, but then you saw it again with me for my first time, and I was pro Benjamin Button that night more so than I am now. Like, the more I think Brad Pitt's just really boring in it. I think I don't understand why anybody was as in love with him as they were, other than he was just something to look at. Like, he was a deformity, you know. Like he didn't have any personality outside of his condition.
Well, as I told you last time we were discussing this, I think that the whole point of the movie was not really about Benjamin Button. I mean, I get that you're going to say, oh, well, it's called
His name is in the
Benjamin
title.
Button. I know. I knew you were going to say that. But
Fucking in my head.
But it's really a movie about relationships and the impact that those relationships have on your life. And Benjamin Button lived a very long life where he had lots of different influences, some so subtle that he couldn't even remember the woman's name, and then others that are much more, long-term and long-lasting, but still affected him, maybe not in that much different of a way than he was affected by the brief encounters he had.
All right. Two things. First thing, I really did like the scene where he met the president and then played ping pong. But didn't you think Cate Blanchett in that movie, her character, I thought she was interesting and definitely a good performance.
Yeah.
But wasn't her character such a bitch in that movie?
Yeah.
She was such a slut and just, I hated her. But I liked her because I hated her.
For the first half of the movie, I really, really didn't like her. But then as she got older, that's when I really got into her. When she finally took Benjamin Button into her life.
Yeah.
He finally looked like Brad Pitt, and all this shit she had done to him before. I liked her, and I loved the ending, the whole ending when she's really old.
See, I was telling Margaret,
Not the where she's telling the story like the Princess Bride style.
Yeah.
I didn't even see the point of that. Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah, that seemed like
it
a
seemed
weird
a little.
tie-in.
It's so they could have that scene at the very end,
with
where the flood comes in and wipes out the clock.
And so
yeah,
they
but
could.
just for that though.
Well, and
Sure.
so they could do the hummingbird in the storm, which was a tie back to when the boat captain had died and the hummingbird went.
Yeah.
Wait. That's based on a real thing? The hummingbird?
What? No, a scene
Oh, I'm
earlier
sorry.
in the
I
movie.
thought that I know the scene in
Oh.
the movie. I thought you were saying that somehow related to Katrina.
No, it connected back to that end scene and her dying and her death to Captain Mike and his death.
Which that seemed like this the rat scene in The Departed that pissed me off. Like, it's just a little too in your face. Or the CGI monkeys in Indiana Jones.
I loved the captain in Benjamin Button. I think
Totally.
that guy's
Oh
name
yeah, I
is
like that
Jared
guy too.
Harris.
Like I say, all the other characters I found to be pretty interesting overall. It was just him.
Well, and that's my point. I mean, he is just
I realize he's just
the
spectator,
thread
right?
that he's the thread that connects it all. And he was an interesting character, but you act like, oh, well, what did he do interesting besides be this guy that ages backwards? Well, that's pretty weird and miraculous enough in and of
I
itself.
understand that, but
like-
that's not enough for a 3-hour movie. I don't know. I just was bored and pissed off by the end of it, I think. And I was telling Margaret another thing that pissed me off, and because they'd made great efforts at the beginning of the movie, when he's the little deformed old man baby.
Right.
And you could see Brad Pitt's features in the baby, and that was all great. Like, I thought... one thing they say about this movie now is, like, it's the one movie where the old person makeup really sells. I don't know that that's true. Cate Blanchett only because she was almost unrecognizable.
Yeah.
But when she started aging, but before she was really decrepit, I don't know. It still looked like every old person makeup
and
job
even
looks
Brad
to me.
Pitt when he was around like the age of 60 or 50.
What I liked
the
even
makeup
less
wasn't as impressive because they weren't using computers for that.
What I liked even less than that was when he comes back as a teenager, and then they did some kind of weird CGI effect on his face to smooth out his
Yeah.
skin. And I think they used the same effect for Kate Blanchett when she was really young, but for some reason that didn't distract me. But when Brad Pitt showed up and he was 16 and he had cartoon cheeks all of a sudden.
Yeah, it was really glossy.
Yeah,
and shiny
I didn't like it. But the scene, one more thing.
And
about
all the
this movie.
scenes where he was always standing in the dark too, like
Yeah, yeah.
the lights were never on in those scenes.
And then you get to the final payoff. Like, of course, spoiler alert, he decreases back into a baby. Obviously, that's going to happen. But there was a whole, like, maybe 5-10 minutes they spent on him as an 8-year-old, maybe?
Yeah.
When he was having all those psychotic episodes, suffering dementia as an 8-year-old, basically.
Yeah.
But
wow.
it's good, but I thought, you spent all this time developing that it's Brad Pitt, it's Brad Pitt, it's Brad Pitt. Then the final scenes, the big payoff of the movie, comes from some 8-year-old kid actor that nobody
Yeah.
cares about.
And I was really staring at that kid's face too, thinking they had to put his nose in or something.
Nothing. No, it's just some kid.
Yeah, but yeah, that was still such a great ending.
I don't know, man. I just don't get it, guys. I will watch it again when I have 8 years
That's
to
the thing is
spare.
I don't even know when I will ever watch it again.
I've seen it twice already, and I wept both times.
The first time you actually stepped outside into the lobby right when it finished,
and continued to weep.
and you saw
I
it on
wept
opening
in the
weekend, so there are
car
probably a
on the
lot
way
of people
home.
walking past you, watching you
Oh
weep.
yeah. Well, I'm a subtle weeper.
If somebody came up to me and was like, "Are you okay?" Yeah, my dad just died. Anything other than this
My
movie.
dad just died, and then I came out to this movie.
It seems like one scene I did get a little misty-eyed. I can't remember what it was now. There was one scene, and I guarantee Brad Pitt he was in every fucking scene. Never mind. PJ loves Brad Pitt. We've talked about this before. I know you're not
Yeah.
caught up on the show, but he really hates Brad Pitt in Burn After Reading.
That's
Oh,
not
really?
that's not true.
You thought you would. I'm sorry. And then
yeah,
you've seen it
I thought I
since.
would.
Have we talked about you seeing it since? Oh, sure we have.
I wrote a blog about it. Yeah, I thought Brad Pitt was just fine in it. It wasn't necessary for him to be in that role.
Yeah, you
Do
think
something else.
I could see David Krumholtz maybe pulling that off.
David Krumholtz,
Yeah.
maybe.
He was cast in a Woody Allen movie recently, and I was really excited, and then his name got dropped from it. I think the same with Inglourious Bastards, Quentin Tarantino's movie.
not in
He at
that
one time
anymore?
was attached, and now Sam Levine is that character.
Oh,
Sam Levine played the little Jewish freak from Freaks and Geeks.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Geek,
wonder
not a
what
freak.
happened to that guy.
Yeah, he shows up every now and again, but
'Cause he's
he's
the only one of that crew not working for Judd Apatow still.
he was in his
Basically.
shows and stuff.
in his
he-
shows, yeah. But since he's hit huge movie success,
Yeah, he's
I
never
haven't seen
been
him
in a
show up.
movie.
No, but he is in the new Quentin Tarantino movie, and sometimes that's all it takes. Ask Robert Forster. Although he's kind of squandered that away. I guess John Travolta was the more obvious example. Hey, Jet Travolta, rest in peace.
Yeah.
Sad.
I'm not even sure I know the story. I thought, for some reason, when I first heard that story, I thought it was a plane crash. And I know that his dad's a pilot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's not what it was at all.
I know. It was a disease? What was it?
He,
It was a seizure in the Bahamas.
yeah, he
Oh,
had
okay.
some kind of.
Same
16
place
years
where
old, right?
Anna Nicole Smith died and her son.
It was the same resort.
No, but it
Oh.
was in the Bahamas.
Yeah. Okay.
Same resort.
No, he had a
Same
seizure
hotel
and
room.
then like hit his head on the bathtub.
Ugh.
So
And
they say, but there's all this speculation about, like, did he have autism and seizures are a symptom of autism? And then they show all this footage. It's really pretty sad of him walking around in public, and he's 16 years old, and he's kind of a big goof, and he just
How do you mean, like,
is kinda
physically?
led around. Yeah, he's just kind of he's not all there, you know.
I see.
And
And that was apparent? Like, you've seen footage and...
yeah.
Like
Well,
he-
I mean, I'm sure they're showing the worst footage, but I don't know. I remember seeing pictures of him in magazines when he was a real little kid, like the magazines that mom would have,
Teen Beat.
because it always stood out to me that his name was Jet. I always thought that was idiotic.
Yeah.
But I never saw him when he was older until after he died, and I don't know. I think there was some things wrong with him.
Yeah,
the
not-
Scientologists don't believe in that or something.
In autism?
Yeah,
I
basically.
think that they had diagnosed him. I thought though with some kind of something.
was I know not autism
Oh.
because they said that John and Kelly were outraged at the claims that their son had autism.
Really?
Oh, I see. So it was like
They said
misdiagnosis.
they said it was
because
like
of
a heart
denial.
condition called It's called something like Kawasaki
right?
fever or something like that.
Oh, I thought you made
Kawasaki
that up.
something. No.
Sounds like a
This is
keyboard
that,
brand.
The supposed heart condition that he has.
Okay.
Huh.
I have no idea. Isn't there another famous actress that has a kid with autism but fully embraces it and like does all kinds of charity shit?
Jenny McCarthy.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, is that right?
I think she believes that autism is caused by like some vaccinations, like some of the medicine and vaccinations.
Yeah, and she has
She
gone
raises
through
money.
some kind of treatment with her son has that supposedly have cured him, or at least made great strides towards it.
Yeah.
You
And
think
Jim Carrey's
has
been
autism?
by her side the whole way.
Yeah, he marches.
If I had autism and Jim Carrey was my dad, I'd be especially freaked out.
God, some kids are so lucky. Like, if your dad was Jim Carrey, oh my God.
Yeah, but how lucky is he? His dad is Jim Carrey, but
His
he also has
stepdad
autism.
is Jim
He
Carrey.
probably doesn't even know Jim Carrey's his dad.
It's a stepdad anyway. Who's his real dad? Jim Carrey's not his
Some
biological
director.
dad.
The guy that directed Diamonds that had her and Dan Aykroyd. Remember we saw a scene of that be filmed?
Yeah, we were in Reno, Nevada, and there was a scene being filmed from that movie. Did we see Dan Aykroyd from afar, maybe?
I think so, yeah. Like
Yeah.
we saw the back of
We
his
didn't
bald
figure
head.
out until probably a good year or two later what that was that we were watching.
Yeah, because
But that was
took forever to
probably
come
the
out.
first and only time I've seen a real movie set, like, stumbled upon it, you know?
And not even a movie set. It was just like, it was right under that sign, and Dan Aykroyd was walking through traffic.
Oh, the littlest, what is it?
The biggest little city in the
Yeah,
world.
sure.
Never heard of it.
Reno, Nevada?
Oh, Reno, Nevada?
Diamonds.
Oh, that's the sign?
It also had Kirk
Yeah, I
Douglas.
have heard of that.
And she was married to the director of that. I think it was him.
Did Kirk Douglas die? I want to say R.I.P. again.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, what?
Did he?
I don't know.
No,
think
did
so.
he?
What if we just wished it to be? We willed that to happen.
He will.
guys.
Him, Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood. I hope his last movie as a director is not Gran Torino. I haven't seen it, but the more I hear about it, the more I hear it's just his performance is great. Every review I read, he's great. The kid actors are terrible. You've seen this movie, right?
I've seen it twice now.
Well, apparently it's better than I gave it credit for.
No, it's just that when I came home from work, my wife and her friend were already watching it. And
So this is another burned DVD you have. How many minutes of this one are missing?
chill out. Chill out, Nick. We were all at the theater. No, yeah. In fact, it was, and I got a free version of a software, ConvertX to DVD, that let me burn it onto a regular DVD. But there's a watermark right in the middle the whole time.
You don't want
Pops up,
DVD,
like,
guy.
every minute.
Blu-ray. Wave of the future.
I don't think you can burn onto Blu-ray.
Not yet.
Someday.
Maybe in Japan. I'll bet in Japan.
I wouldn't go so far. I mean, Clint Eastwood had great acting in the movie. But there's some
Did he?
pretty
Because
hammy parts. Like
I remember seeing the first time I saw the trailer in the theater. He actually said, "What does he say? Get off my lawn!"
Get off my lawn.
And people laughed. Like they had no choice but to
Yeah.
laugh.
And he does things like his son was annoying him, trying to get him to go into a retirement home and zoom in on his old face, and he's growling like a dog. And then at the very end of the movie, as the credits roll, it's Clint Eastwood singing a song.
Oh, I heard about that.
About a Gran Torino. It's so funny.
I remember he's very secretive about his, like, he'll release something, right around Oscar season. But before that, like, very little information is known about a movie until he leaks that first trailer himself. And I remember when Gran Torino, when the title first came out on the internet, everybody was convinced that it was an actual long-awaited sequel to Dirty Harry, another one in the franchise.
Really?
And based on what I hear about his performance in Gran Torino, it pretty much is.
I've never seen any of those Dirty Harry movies.
Oh, you haven't? It's been a lot of years for me, but I've at least seen the first one, and
What is
it's
he, a cop?
yeah.
Never seen it. I'll cue it up.
What about you?
What's on your queue, Mark? Are you guys Netflix friends?
Yes, we are.
You and Margaret?
We are.
Yeah, Margaret
what
only
you look
recently
like.
jumped on the Netflix bandwagon, and don't you love it?
I
Don't
do.
you understand why I preached,
I
sang
do,
its songs for 2 years?
And Haley loves it too now, and she's an even more recent convert than I.
Yeah, our good friend Haley. Not yours, you don't know her.
What's on her queue?
She's watching Dexter right now.
Jesus Christ Superstar.
Anything with Jesus in the title. She's
Mormon
probably
the movie.
She's not Mormon.
She is, in fact, anti-Mormon, I would go as far as to
Is
say.
that her religion? Anti-Mormon?
Yeah, she's anti-everything that's not her religion, which is, I think, Lutheran.
Lutheran, correct. Anyway, we should save all this Haley's a religious freak talk for when she's on, because she was supposed to guest tonight.
Foreshadow.
You are... You're her understudy. How do you feel about that?
I have better stories.
I feel that you do. So pipe up. I haven't heard from you much.
You guys should be careful about what you talk about on the podcast.
I don't have anything funny, but I have something really fucked up. It's a long story, though. I don't know if we're prepared.
I already know what it is, so go for it.
I'm prepared.
Nick, I think you should give background from an outsider's perspective. Okay, and to preface, this story is about my roommate who, on
Former
December
roommate.
former roommate,
Yeah.
thank you. Let me
He's
clarify
not
that
sitting here in the room as
strongly.
we trash him.
Former roommate. As of September. So a long former.
Right. It
But-
is now what? January.
Yeah,
Of
and
09.
December 31st, he was normal. And today he's homeless and living on the street.
Oh, man.
All right, so he
Spoiler
was...
alert.
Yeah.
Do we have a name for him yet?
Let's call him something. I will... Do you want to go with Fido?
Fido.
His real name is very much a stereotypical dog name, and so I want to go either Fido or Spot. But it's up
Let's
to you
go
guys.
Spot.
Yeah, in honor of our cousin Tim's dog. So appropriately named Spot.
On the nose, Tim, you did it. Okay, so we're going with Spot.
Okay, and he used to live with you. I've met him a few times, and he is so pleasant.
Oh yeah,
I like him a lot.
Once upon a time.
My favorite thing was to come here, and we'd all be hanging
Here
out
we're
and
recording at
smoking.
Margaret's. You should
Right.
say, yeah.
And Nick would just get so argumentative with the Spot
Spot.
that it was out of control. I don't know. It just
What do you mean?
laugh
Give me an
so hard.
example.
I don't know. Just everything he said, because he'd always sigh and complain about whatever we're doing.
Okay, that is one thing that would drive me nuts about this guy, is like he was constantly wanting to hang out. Like he liked the company of me and Margaret. Like we were his two best friends basically, and he was living with you for a long time. But certain things about him would drive me nuts. And I know it wasn't my place because technically he was your roommate and I was just a guy hanging out. But we'd be watching TV and it'd be a show that you and I are both obviously into and that he's adamantly against for whatever stupid reason. And then so we would watch it. Not only does he not leave the room because he's not interested, he'll stay there, but he'll mock it as we're trying to enjoy it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and he did
That
it
shit
most
used to drive me
often
nuts.
during It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
fucking hilarious. How can anyone
And I
object
can-
to that show?
That show is
Pretty funny
not
show.
everybody's cup of tea, and I get that. But if I'm just saying, exit the room and don't make snarky comments when you're living here for basically free, and it's her TV. She'll watch what she wants to watch, and she doesn't
Especially
need to be
given
shit on
the
for it.
hours and hours we spent watching the ABBA DVD.
Which I am guilty for having bought him. I think it was either Christmas or a birthday
That
or
was
something.
a very thoughtful gift, and we even watched it and pretended to enjoy it.
Spot
were
is
good
also the
friends.
only reason that anybody that's my Netflix friend would see that I ever rented Xanadu, because he begged me to. He's very flamboyantly gay, we should say. Let's set the scene there.
Yeah, didn't he also have you rent something else?
He sure tried. I think I gave up after Xanadu. Have you seen that?
No, never.
Oh, it's so
even with your love of
bad.
musicals, huh?
Yeah, but I can't think of any channels it's ever been on.
It's so bad.
It's on Netflix.
Okay,
on Broadway
it's
now, yeah?
basically like Grease, only
really?
much worse. Like awful version of Grease.
Isn't it like
It's like
outer
a roller
space?
skating rink or something
Does
in
it have
outer
to do with
space,
outer
maybe.
space?
Yeah, they're aliens somehow or something. Isn't she an
Wow. I
don't know.
alien?
And
What's her
Spot
name?
would sit there and try to explain the plot. My eyes glazed over. But this is the difference between me and him, is I would sit there and watch it and chuckle at the appropriate moments because, sure, he's watching it for the camp value as well, and we get that. But I'm not ruining the whole experience for him. I'm not shitting on him for liking the movie. I just never rented another one for him. Get your own Netflix account. Anyway, I'm trying to think of the first time I met him.
It was in the courtyard.
Oh yeah,
when
the courtyard of your building.
Because the building was totally wrapped in plastic, and it was under construction. So all the smokers convened in the courtyard, and we met
all
all kinds
smokers.
of folks. Yeah.
So yeah, we met him through the courtyard, and eventually, I remember he used to refer to us, me anyway, because I was living in Tacoma and I would just come here occasionally.
And Haley too.
Yeah, so we were the Tacoma kids. And anyway, he's this really sweet, adorable gay man. Like, he's just the nicest guy in the world. He laughs at all the right places, blah, blah, blah.
He's obsessed with dogs.
And obsessed with dogs.
I mean, obsessed like in a really freakish kind of way. Like, really,
where's your cock as you're petting this dog?
If you're trying to walk 2.5 blocks in the city streets, which should only take you about 4.5 minutes max, it will take you 27 minutes with because he'll have stopped. It'll take you 27 minutes with Spot because because he'll stop like every 5 feet to pet a dog for 10 minutes.
That would be so annoying.
Oh,
Really
it was, my
was.
friend.
That was like trying to walk out of a Guitar Center with our Uncle Barry, and he's got to pick up every guitar. Or a bookstore, read every book.
Hold on, there's a keyboard. I'll meet you guys at the car. Oh,
I
fucking
want to tell
drove me
the
nuts.
salesman about my opera.
Did he really do that?
He
was not rating an opera at the
He,
time.
he took forever everywhere. It would drive me fucking insane.
Slight tangent. Our uncle's also doing a stand-up routine now. He's still an active Jehovah's Witness, so stand-up isn't really something that you can consider as an actual occupation. But they do have these Jehovah's Witness talent shows every year. And so he is writing however many minutes worth of Jehovah's Witness friendly material for a stand-up, which means the lamest fucking stand-up ever.
Seriously.
Involved
So I was knocking on this door.
What surprises me is that it sounds like some of them will be Jehovah's Witness themed, which I thought he would just completely steer clear.
Oh, you got to talk about what you know. Genesis through Leviticus.
I don't know how well over that would go. It depends on how his congregation already views him. If he just goes up there and kind of starts, I don't know.
Isn't laughing against the Jehovah's Witness religion?
Not if it's PG rated.
Not if you're drinking.
Only in moderation, friend. Anyway, yeah, going back to Spot. Yeah, I met him in the courtyard, and then he would just hang out with us, whatever. He wasn't big into, like, he was always a very laid-back guy. Never, I should say rarely ever. Maybe in the 3 years that I knew him well. Would it be 3 years?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe in that 3 years, up until recently, I'd only seen him drink alcohol maybe once or twice in that time. But maybe this is an indication those first few times I did, and the only times I did, it happened once a year. But that once a year, he'd get fucked up.
He would, but just for the one night. It wasn't like...
Yeah, and then he was over it. Like,
yeah,
it was
and
just,
then he'd be fine.
And usually it was a holiday or something. So it didn't seem that out of the ordinary. And the same with the pot smoking. He'd be in the room when I was smoking pot. Never wanted to be a part of it. But every once in a while, okay, I'll get high. And then he would do it, and then he wouldn't do it again for another 8 months to a year, you know?
Yeah, I mean, at most, he'd only ever... even made reference to any drugs that were harder than that too, in terms of like,
he has lots of
club
drug
drugs way
stories.
back in the day.
Right.
Though it was never like anything, even in the past like 5 to 10 years of history.
So he would tell all these crazy stories about when he was living in New York and wherever else, all over the world.
How old is he right now?
Oh, I know.
Mid-30s probably?
He's a leap year baby and just had his 9th birthday. So
what does that mean in human years?
36, yeah.
37. 36.
That's about right. He looks about 36, 37.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, he probably looks about 80, but we
That's,
haven't gotten
that's
there
older than I thought.
yet. Really?
Yeah, I would have thought like 30.
Interesting.
He does look kind of old.
Yeah.
A
Now that I
little
think
bit.
about
A
it.
little withered, yeah.
And he has MS too.
Which stands for what?
Multiple sclerosis.
I tried to think of a joke before she could.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Sorry, I ruined
Mike
your
Scully,
moment.
is that a
No,
person?
you saved us, believe me.
But and so he hasn't worked really the whole time we've known him.
He had odd jobs. You mentioned his obsession with dogs. So he had people within this building, all of which he knew very well, and he would walk their dogs. and get paid some money for that, I imagine. And he also he roped me into it for a short while until I realized how fucking miserable it is to walk in the rain in Seattle from 1 to 4 in the morning on a Friday and Saturday. Anyway, he used to like put flyers on people's cars, like for clubs and stuff, and he'd get paid like $40 and split it with me. I was real hard out for cash at the time, but he was the kind of guy where if I'm gonna do it with somebody, I'll do it with Spot because he was a good friend at the time, and we would enjoy each other's company as we did it. It sucked, the job itself, but like that's the kind of friends we were.
Totally.
And then it started to fall apart even before all the craziness.
It started to, see, because the thing is, when he moved in with me, he had been kind of really his other occupation is he's kind of a professional couch surfer. And for at least...
Strictly within the building you live in.
But I think he did it in New York, too. Like, I think he lived with some people in New York before he came here. And then since he's been in Seattle, which is something like, 4 years or whatever, he's always lived in my building with 3 different people, including me, in different apartments, just floating, like, for a year at each
never
person's
on the lease.
Place. Yeah, no, and I
Oh,
mean,
no.
I think in
his
most
name's
of those
not on any
places
mail,
he
I don't
didn't-
think.
No,
I'm not even sure Spot is his real name, to be honest.
Spot, I'm pretty sure that's definitely not his real name. When he first moved in with us, though, like...
Us?
Sorry, I feel like you live
We're not
here.
a couple,
You're here
Margaret.
Is this
enough.
when you guys were living together?
Now, Margaret, I know you haven't listened to the last few, but I have made a couple of recent references to people assuming we fuck with as often as we hang out.
It's true. Well, especially with as many nights as you spend here. But what they don't know is that you have your own room.
So we're just like a bitter couple several years into a marriage.
Yeah, basically. We pretend we're still together for the kids' sake.
Happy couple, happy couple.
Yeah. No, but remember how when we were first hanging out with him, like for the first maybe like year that we knew him, he was totally like respectful and nice and considerate, and he would like, if he noticed, if he was getting up to go to the bathroom and noticed that you had finished your dinner, he'd pick up your plate and drop it in the sink or whatever. Like, just considerate.
Yeah, very considerate guy all around.
Yeah.
And, like, making sure, I'm getting up to get a drink. Does anybody want anything? Like, just common sense things that people do. Especially when you're living with somebody for basically free, which was the case, right?
Well, it was totally for free at first because, and everybody listening can think I'm a sucker because I am.
I certainly do.
Really. But
You've let me mooch off you for like 3 years now.
Oh, you have no idea how funny Kelly and Haley are going to think the fact that you just said that is.
Oh, I know how funny they'll think it is.
Yeah, they've called you out on mooching many a time. But
They say he's mooching off you right now?
Nick, oh yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I love it here.
Yeah, because of my mooching, you have a place to sleep tonight.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And a place to record tonight.
That's not Nick's wood floor that might have cat shit on it. We're not really sure.
I just want to say for the record, my roommate's cat is a lot more civil than the last time I talked about it. No longer shits everywhere.
Really? I
Yeah.
didn't see any pee on that couch cover today.
Yeah,
so.
No. For the most part, it's pretty clean household.
Does that
Anyway,
mean Bacon approves of the new furniture?
we don't want to give Bacon's actual name.
We'll call him Popcorn. Popcorn. Was his previous shitting habits like did it just smell all the time?
Oh, it got to be terrible sometimes because you've been to my apartment.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty small place, 2-bedroom, but we're sharing it.
Right.
And so like the stink just immediately hits you. You know when it happens.
Is your health in danger?
Oh,
Remember
felt
that
like
scene in Train Spotting with all the cat shit all throughout the guy's house, and that's how he died, was getting poisoned through it?
Oh yeah, I do remember
Yeah.
that. God, it's
Oh,
been several years
man.
since I've seen that.
That
All I
guy
remember
who's-
is the creepy baby with the head that turned
Yeah.
around, and then the crib death baby too. A lot of fucked up baby scenes in that
Same
movie.
baby.
I know, but in a vision.
Right. Correct.
Let's ask Spot about. I was trying to make a
If he's
drug
had-
joke there,
if-
connection
If
to
he's
Train
had
Spotting.
visions of
Do you
babies.
think he's researching a role in like the Seattle company production of Train Spotting?
That might be one of the only plausible explanations.
But before, where were we at in this?
I
story?
think-
So we know
so-
him as like an occasional once a year weed smoker.
And drinker, maybe.
Yeah.
too.
But recovering from
But other than
Not
that, not
even
only that, he doesn't
recovering.
even eat fucking meat, man.
yeah.
Like he's a crazy vegetarian, and he would just eat, like make weird concoctions of gross food. Anyway, we got to devote a whole
Did he have a
segment
no
to how
blowjob
gross
rule?
it was when he lived here with
Yeah, totally. I mean, to cut to the chase, and get up to where things get interesting, which really is there. He's this totally
you. This is
normal,
all interesting. How dare you?
He's this totally normal, mellow, cool guy. He's going through hard times. I let him move in, and I let
And
him.
we know that he's never had much money. He's never had much motivation to go out and do something real.
The
But
story
we
he
were.
tells us that his family, because he was gay when he came out, they disowned him. So he's not. I mean, as far as any of us know, has no ties to any family connection of any
Right.
kind.
And the few times he did allude to family, it always seemed real fucked up and dark.
Totally.
So, I mean, there are a lot of reasons.
Yeah, so he moves in, and I let him live with me for free for the first 4 months, and it was just going to be a real temporary thing.
See, it's so easy to mooch off of her. She's such a fucking sucker.
I have a soft spot for people I care about. What can I say?
And I thank you again.
Call me a good friend. That is my fault.
I will call you a good friend on record.
Thank you. I'm glad it's recorded.
I'll burn that onto a CD for you.
If being a good friend was illegal, would you be willing to be arrested for it?
Definitely.
All right.
That is so cute.
I just hope that you remember what a good friend I was to you when you're a rich and famous podcast star.
I don't think podcast is ever going to make me rich and famous.
I don't think rich and famous and podcast were ever in the same sentence before now. But thank you. We're having a lot of fun. I don't expect to ever make any money.
Off of this.
No, not off of this. This is just a what do you call it? A branching.
Yeah, we're putting our name, we're putting the brand out there.
Right. Do you expect to work together in other mediums, though? Because I think the podcast is pretty much it for us as brothers.
Wow, that's harsh. I was thinking we could do a Sklar Brothers thing.
Are you familiar with the Sklar brothers?
Not at all.
We could pit sitcoms.
You would
around
recognize them
Hollywood.
from the episode of Entourage that they're in. But they're twin brothers that are also comedians, and they do basically everything together. And what's funny is I was talking to PJ about this today. What if this podcast turned into something where, we actually got press and had to do an interview or two every now and again? If we were to ever get famous and this... we're always going to be associated as the guys that have to be together, right?
Yeah.
We can't do a solo interview now.
Yeah, but
we've already fucked ourselves.
But assuming that since this is apparently the only thing we're ever going to work together on, we're being interviewed for a podcast, any podcast, if it's hosted by two people, they would be doing all the interviews together.
And I understand that. I mean, brother isn't the fucking title of the show,
Right.
But I'm saying I'm just saying hypothetically, if it were to move beyond that.
Beyond podcasting.
But podcasting is what made us popular.
Well,
in
let's
some
do
of
it,
the field.
Nick. Why not? We'll be together forever. We'll write TV shows. We'll do little indie plays. We can move to LA. It's gonna be fun.
What's
And
an
the thing
indie
is-
play?
Like a little play, like a little workshop that you
Can Harrison
make
Ford
on
be
your
in
own.
it?
Like Rent was, and now it's a phenomenon.
You're no longer allowed to talk about Rent either, or musicals of any kind.
Yeah.
Don't dash his love of Brent. Hey, speaking of you guys being brothers and the fact that if you were identical twins and had a triplet, he would be Ben Lee. Did you hear who Ben Lee married this week?
No.
Ione Sky from
Is
Say
that
Anything.
she's got to be
way.
so
Yeah.
many years older than him?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Lots older than him, right?
I don't know. I didn't look up their ages. That'd be
What's the
interesting.
last thing she was in?
For those that
I don't know.
know,
I only know Say Anything.
yeah, she's also has a bit part in Wayne's World.
She was in Girls in Prison with Anne Heche.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Boobs?
Yeah.
Have you seen her boobs in more than just that?
Yeah. What was it? 4 Rooms. 4 Rooms. She's one of the witches in the witch part of the movie.
So not only do we have Margaret as a guest tonight, but also Mr. Skin. Thanks for making an appearance.
The black sheep baton has been passed.
So back to the spot thing.
Go for it. Sorry.
So he moves in with me and lives with me for free for that first 4 months. And then he was it was actually one day on the balcony smoking a cigarette, and you and he were talking, and he was saying something, because I think it was something about you were wanting to look for a new place I think was the conversation, and he said something about...
Let's keep that on the DL. I don't know if my roommate's a listener.
Eventually,
I will give you
spread
at
your
least a
wings.
month's notice when I move out. Anyway, keep going.
And he was talking about, like, basically suggesting that you guys should get a place together because he couldn't afford to ever...
Ooh.
I know.
Wowzers.
You dodged a bullet. I took it for you. I stepped directly in front
When you
of
say you
it.
dodged a bullet, we haven't gotten to why... Or, fuck, I screwed up too. Why our good friend Spot there would be a bad roommate. Like, he was a good friend, but not a good roommate,
Yeah.
right? You could say that?
And so in that moment, I just felt like bad, and so I extended him the offer to like start paying barely any rent and just to
I'm
live
sorry.
here.
I'm sorry. This is before he was living here.
No, this one he was living here for free at first for 4 months,
Okay.
and then I started to feel bad based on this balcony conversation. I invited him to move in, thinking he's this like considerate person we've known the whole time.
Right?
But
Which
shortly,
he was up
And
until that
has he
point,
been
absolutely.
considerate for the 4 months?
He has been totally. I mean,
Yeah, he was
totally
really up on
doing his
keeping the
share with
place
the
clean.
cleaning.
That's how
These
Yeah.
con artists work.
Exactly.
Gay con artists like
No.
6 degrees of
I
separation.
don't know why he's got to be a gay con artist.
Dude.
6 degrees of separation. When
It
he
really
didn't kiss Anthony
is.
Michael Hall.
I have no idea what that reference meant.
Will Smith played a gay guy, a gay con artist in 6 Degrees of Separation. He had an on-screen kiss with Anthony Michael Hall.
Is that right?
But as an actor, refused to actually kiss him, so it's cheesy.
Will Smith as an actor?
Yep. So it's like a cheesy behind-the-head shot, and he says that he's always regretted that, refusing to do that.
Oh, man.
Anthony Michael Hall, even more distressed over it. Anyway, I'm sorry. So he was laying the groundwork.
Yeah, exactly. And you're totally onto his con. You're more observant than I, but you also, hindsight 2020 and
Yeah,
all
I
that.
wasn't in it.
And it's like quickly after he moves in, like the downward spiral begins, I would say. But I never thought it would go where it ended up going.
Oh, none of us did.
Yeah. I mean, basically, he just it starts the way it always does. He starts getting a little messy, not doing his share of the cleaning, starts monopolizing the couch, like so much so that, 4 people would walk in to hang out, and there's like 2 chairs and the couch, and he still just stays laying on the couch
Sprawled across it,
as
yeah.
people sit on the floor.
So there were a few friends that made a point to come here and hang out quite often. Not as often as me. Nobody as often as me. Not even Spot in the time that he was living there probably was here as often as I was. But yeah, so people actually got to the point where they weren't into hanging out here as much, like your physical place, because in a certain sense, and I know I have foot odor problems of my own, but he really kind of defiled the place, yeah?
Oh, he totally defiled it. I mean, still to this day, the couch is not the same.
And how do you mean?
If you sit on it for too long, or too long after it's been freshly Febreze,
Then you start to smell some Spot,
you
huh?
start to smell some spots.
You really do, PJ.
What does Spot smell like?
You got to try it for yourself. Just sit there for 2 minutes and you'll know.
I was laying down on it before the show started, stretching out. my
Gross!
It's been 4 months now of airing out, so I think you may be okay.
Is it just body odor?
It's more than body odor. He had a
Is there a
certain...
needle inside that couch somewhere? Have you cleaned it out well?
I was not aware of any kind of drug use, needle or otherwise, but he had this weird, it wasn't just like an odor. It was like maybe, this is gonna sound
A disability?
gross, but like an oozing from his skin, to where he also had used. He would just go get sheets from my closet and put them on the bed, and he put some white jersey knit sheets of mine that I'd gotten from Haley. They were really lovely and soft. Also a virginal mattress in there that I'd gotten from Haley.
Mm-hmm.
A virginal mattress?
It came from Haley after all.
That makes so much sense.
And he slept on these sheets not even for that long, like for a couple months maybe, but I don't think he ever washed them, and he literally changed the color of them to this kind of deep Grey Poupon yellow.
Oh, it was so gross.
And it was awful. And
I
then,
thought of a new nickname for him. Fuck Spot. He's now Mustard Fart.
Was he on medication for his MS that made him smell bad?
maybe
Did he shower?
he showered.
He showered,
a lot.
but didn't you say at one point, and my teeth are far from great, but you said that he, as far as you know, in the months that he lived here,
That's
never
gross
owned
me out.
never owned a toothbrush.
If he did, he kept it like hidden somewhere in his room.
But why do you keep a toothbrush hidden?
I never saw
And
a
not your teeth?
toothbrush in the bathroom. I mean, I saw like his shaving cream, his razor, all that other stuff, but never a toothbrush.
Yeah, interesting. In addition to that, wasn't there, what was the bloody Kleenex all about? He'd have balled up Kleenex all over his room that were just, like, soaked with blood, yeah?
Yeah.
And he wouldn't throw them away. They would just build and build into a fort.
And I mean, they would even get, like, I mean, he would, when he did throw them away, which was rare, he would miss the trash can. It's like, really? You need to throw your
Intentionally,
bloody
'cause fuck you.
Kleenex on the floor next to the trash can instead of actually in it. And there was even, like, get to the point where there would be, like, blood splatters, like, everywhere in the shower and stuff.
That is really
That
gross.
is
It was
disgusting.
so
If you can't clean up a blood splatter in a shower, of all places.
Well, and really, and this is not an exaggeration, I had 2 plants that I'd had for like years. I mean, I'm talking like 10 years plus, and they'd always been healthy and fine, and they
Because you
lived
talked to him, right?
Do they eat socks?
And I put them in his room, and they lived in the same room as him for 4 months. Fucking dead, both of them.
After years of thriving.
Yeah. Like,
That-
literally, he sucks the life force out of
And you know, that
things.
story would seem ridiculous, and it probably seems ridiculous to all of our listeners, except for I was here and I witnessed it, and it's true. I believe he was responsible for those plants' deaths. Like, he just got to a certain point where he stopped caring about himself, and he stopped caring about you as a roommate, and, you know, basically you're his landlord, and he's just, he pissed it all away. And... So,
did anyone else that he used to live with ever warn you, or can they
No.
relate to you?
They all seemed, well, he would tell stories about them and how crazy they were. Like, he was constantly
he always had a story about
criticizing
them, yeah.
2 of his former roommates, both in this building, for being like crazy drug users and, I mean, irrational psychos and whatever else.
Which I've met a couple of them, and they seem to have fit the bill.
Yeah, except that, I mean, I don't
I don't
feel
think he
like
was
that's-
exaggerating that much. He just all of a sudden is beyond them in terms
Right.
of craziness.
Yeah,
Which
but
also should worry you about being his roommate. This is how he talks about his ex-roommates.
that's true. But at
True.
the time, having met them, like, I was like, oh, yeah, they are kind of
PJ,
crazy.
one of those roommates you met is, I'll just say his name. I won't
Vaughn?
say Vaughn. We met him in the courtyard. Do you want me to tell this story?
Yeah, sure, because I barely remember it.
Of
I
course
remember
you
him
do.
giving me a pill.
Yeah, he gave us more than one pill. Like, 2 stories about this guy, and this was, yes, one of Spot's roommates prior to you and after you, as it turns out,
Yes.
right? And this is this crazy guy that lives in the building, and it's probably the second time I ever met him. He's an older gentleman,
Mm-hmm.
probably gay, yeah, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
Definitely gay.
All he would talk to me about was how wealthy he was.
Yeah,
He likes
he would
to
come up
tell
with these
lies.
crazy stories about how he was a millionaire.
Yeah.
But then he's trying to sell people drugs in the building all the time. But he gave us drugs. He had like a pocket full of pills one night, and we were out in the courtyard smoking. And I don't know what he gave us, and I don't know why we took it, but we did. And
I think he invited us to do coke too.
oh, I'm sure he did.
Definitely. And
Uh,
one time he offered to buy Nick's dirty underwear for $60.
True
Did
story.
you sell him?
No,
Yeah.
he wouldn't
Remember-
let me, that motherfucker.
What?
I know.
I know. Remember 2 minutes ago when I couldn't remember whether or not he was gay? I forgot about how he wanted to buy my underwear, but that's a true story. And yeah, Margaret, everybody was like, "Just do it. He's a millionaire. He has $60." Anyway, I really offended that guy once in the courtyard. Apparently, he's a Jewish fellow, which, if if it's like any other story he's told, probably a fucking lie too. I don't know
Yeah.
why you're lying about that. But I have a big nose, as people that know me know, and I had referred to my own nose as a Jew nose in casual conversation. This guy could not have taken more offense. And I remember it was dark, so I couldn't even see his face, but I could still feel his rage. And what you were there,
Some
right?
people
What did he
Yes.
say?
like
Do you
that.
remember?
I don't
It's been
remember
so
what he
long
said
ago
exactly, but he was very offended and called you out on it with the quickness, to which you started
now. And
apologizing.
I'm hanging out there.
profusely.
I'm hanging out, and there's like 6 other people when I make that
fucking
joke.
hate guys like that.
Oh, and he made me feel like such a jackass in front of everybody.
I forget where we were in the other story.
He would turn the colors of the sheets,
There was that, yes.
God.
but he would shower a lot. We talked about the bloody Kleenex.
So basically, it came to a point where I realized he was dragging me down, and I was just like in a really low place because of a breakup anyway.
Did you have friends in those low places?
I did, luckily.
Where do your exes live?
Where do they live?
Where do they live?
One of the just generally, or that specific?
Oh,
All,
God.
where do all your exes live?
I don't know. Is that a?
Oh,
Son of a
my
bitch.
exes
Oh,
live
yeah.
in Texas. You got a yes and, Margaret.
You will not fuck this up for us.
You know what?
That was a beautiful comedy
Fuck
tangent.
you, ambulance. Sorry.
Yeah, there is an ambulance.
I've
Actually.
tried to
Ambulance is fucking us up.
disassociate myself from anything Texan.
That ambulance came in to rescue Margaret from this terrible, terrible riff.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in a low place, and I realized I just had to let him go. But I tried to be cool about it, and I gave
And
him...
how much notice did you give him?
I gave him 4 months' notice,
That is
which is
amazing.
more than legit.
Oh, my God.
If I do say so myself.
Absolutely, sure.
And during this time, he didn't
Because
do...
you know that he's not going to rush off and find a job. It's going to take him a while,
Yeah.
based
And
on who he is as a person.
No matter how he paid rent through goods and services and walking Joey the cat, like, what did it equal up to? How much was he? Like, if you had to
He
put
was
it in
paying
monetary
me...
terms.
Well, when he moved in, we agreed that he'd pay me $250 a month
What a
plus...
great deal.
plus
Oh, God,
half
I'd
the
love it.
bills. But he never paid half the bills, and I never asked about
Never?
it because not one single time.
Ooh, not even the first month.
Not
to
even
be
the
like,
first
I'm
month.
trying.
Yeah, and I just let it go because again, I was just trying to help a friend get on his feet. But even when it came time to where I gave him notice, he still didn't put in like any effort to improve his financial situation. You know?
Right, and you know that because he's never leaving here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like ever. Like he's on the couch
And-
constantly.
On the couch, or what was, and maybe I'm jumping ahead, but he would close himself off in his room for days at a time.
Periodically, maybe like once every 4 to 6 months, he'd disappear for 3 or 4 days just locked in his room, which...
Not even out to go to the bathroom, right? Which means he
Well,
must be peeing in a jar or off your balcony.
Or like maybe he did at night when I was asleep or something. I mean, I don't really know.
It was weird, and these are the things that we're interpreting as telltale signs now, given where he's at.
And even
Right.
at the time, I thought it was suspect and seemed kind of like drug behavior, but there
But
was
he blamed it
no-
on his MS.
Yeah, he blamed it on his MS, like spells of MS, which is a feasible explanation.
Sure, sure.
And he never really seemed like I've been around plenty of people that have done all kinds of drugs in my life, and like he just didn't seem like he was on drugs. Like his eyes weren't dilated. I mean, there was no evidence of any kind of paraphernalia, nothing like that. Other than, to your point, he had bloody noses like all the time. But
Right.
he basically just blamed his allergies and acted like he was going to see the free clinic about
Yeah,
it.
some people
but-
have bloody noses a
Yeah,
lot.
and I never really questioned that. I just thought it was gross.
Yeah, it was gross because he didn't deal with it properly.
Right.
So, come time for him to move out, and he moves back into the other apartment in my building with the people he lived with originally here.
The Jew that was offended by my Jew joke.
Yes, who really is just a renter also of this other guy.
But I thought he was a millionaire.
Well, those were
why
all
is he
Yeah,
lies.
he
renting?
said he was young, retired, happy.
He said he was young as his gray hair screamed
Oh,
at us.
yeah.
Those were all
Young
lies.
for retired, I guess.
But I don't know. But we stayed kind of, I mean, as much as we were all, I think, ready to be done with for a good long time,
Spot.
we did try to stay friends with him after.
Oh yeah, sure we did. And he would call us. He would still want to smoke a cigarette with us. Let's meet in the courtyard. Ask if we're going to breakfast, which we often do on weekends. So we would still make an effort to hang out with him, and it wasn't that weird. I mean, it had to have been weird for you, because you were the one that asked him to leave. Like, that's weird for anybody, at least temporarily.
Yeah, but I had tried to do the transition like so smoothly, you know, like not making a big scene, just being cool. Yeah.
Oh, and you absolutely were. You handled it the best way you could, and of course you want your place back to yourself. And I remember being your best friend, just being so relieved once he was gone, only because we don't have to deal with him and whatever spastic mood he happens to be in,
Yeah.
or his bloody Kleenex or anything else. We can just hang out and play the Wii and not be mocked for it.
I know, because my house was actually mine again.
Exactly.
And so
yeah.
it was great, and he was hanging out. And as recently as New Year's Eve day, well, I guess we should start around, the weekend before Christmas is when things started to change. Like, he had periodically talked about, kind of casually, trying marijuana medicinally. And he'd even gotten some paperwork about it, and really was kind of taking the steps to look into it. But one day, all of a sudden, he just shows up and has decided that he's a pot smoker.
Which is really weird considering how seldom I'd seen him do it before. And, Spot has seen me smoke pot tons and tons of times. 90% of the times he's hung out with me, I've been smoking pot in front of him. And never, and I'll offer as a joke. And plus, I'm always thrilled when somebody that doesn't smoke pot will smoke pot because I asked them to. It always and
or
cigarettes. Cigarettes, too. Yeah, I love that. I love fouling up
I've
somebody's
seen
lungs
you
for a
be
night.
really excited when Kelly smokes cigarettes.
Yeah, she's a good example. But so for all of a sudden to have him come over and be all about the pot, when he had several chances, and then I was excited, of course.
Yeah.
Like I just explained, sure, you're one of my friends, and I love my friends even more when they smoke pot with me.
Well, because it just seems so innocent. I'm almost 30 years old, and my entire life since I was maybe 12, a lot of people in my life have smoked pot just as a very casual thing, like
Right.
Yeah,
cigarettes.
and not so much us growing up.
Oh, no. What, you mean us personally?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't start smoking pot until well into my 20s.
Well, and probably most of your friends didn't because they were all J-dubs, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. That's
The
why
only
we were-
one, the first guy I ever saw smoke pot was Tim, our cousin.
Is that right?
Yeah, and then not again anybody for years after that till I moved to Yakima.
The first time I ever saw somebody smoke pot was, aside from concerts, well, when I first smelled pot was every concert I've ever been to.
That's true with everybody.
And I just, I didn't associate it with pot, though. That was the concert smell to me. But the first time I remember somebody, and I'm sorry to go off on this, I was working at the movie theater in Yakima. I was probably 17 or 18, and I remember they were screening Shrek for us employees, the weekend before it came out or some bullshit. And so we all are going to go there, and I am not touching anything at this point. Very much Jehovah's Witness, so never been drunk, never been high, never smoked a cigarette, never will do any of those things. At the time, that's what I thought. And but I get a ride from one of the other guys I'm working with, and he's kind of a thugged out dude, Mexican Yakima dude,
Mm-hmm.
And we're on our way to Shrek, and he's got the actual pipe that's fashioned out of a soda can. And they're smoking up on the way to because it's another theater, I should say. We're driving to the other theater where the premiere is. And that's the first time, and I was freaked out. I was sure we were going to get pulled over. I was sure I was going to be in jail for the rest of my life for just being in the car. I
hate
had no
that.
idea what not a big deal it was.
Yeah.
And I seriously thought about it for years to come. I can't believe I was there for that.
Yeah.
You know how many people I've smoked pot around that I could give a shit or didn't check to make sure it was cool first?
Yeah.
But yeah, so you were all excited. Spot's a big pothead for a week. And then we go out of town for Christmas, which we'll come back to later, I guess. And when we come back, he comes over on New Year's Eve, and he's totally normal, totally himself. We smoke a cigarette, and I hear him on the phone with one of our friends.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
And somebody who actually used to live in the building but didn't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking about how he's going to go out to the club with them that night and make some reference to ecstasy, like getting
Wanting
ecstasy. Yeah. And I don't really think anything of it at the time because...
Even though he's told ecstasy stories to me in the past.
He has. So I just think,
But never would he... Yeah.
But I just think, he's going out. It's New Year's Eve.
Yeah, it's a
he's
social.
Gonna,
It's a social thing.
Have you done ecstasy, PJ?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Let me check. I'll get back to you. I'll go read my diary.
But
to
I
my
mean, it's
lawyer.
pretty common, I think, to go out clubbing, dancing, whatever, and just take some...
So I hear. One of my
Gotta
last
like
girlfriends told me all about ecstasy and how great an experience it was. I'll never do it again, but man, was that a great 19.
I'll never do it again. Like, was it bad? In the end,
she's beyond it now. She's matured, but God, she had great things to say about it. And ecstasy's not my. I don't care for thumping music or thumping of any kind.
it's like, isn't it a drug where like you want to be close to other people, so that's why you go to raves?
Yeah, you
want
wanna
to
feel everybody up.
each other, and
Yeah, not
Looking
for
at
me.
color.
Yeah, I think
Colors.
it's a drug where you like touch a lot. You
Yeah.
know, like it basically heightens all your touch
Senses.
senses.
all one of them.
Specifically your touch senses.
All of your touch senses.
Exactly.
What are the 5 senses? Touch.
There's an iPod.
It probably it must do taste too, because people are always into like sucking on things like what's big at like clubs.
You said it.
Is like candy necklaces and whatnot. You know, I don't know. So yeah, all the senses, I guess.
Okay, so he asked for ecstasy on the phone.
Yeah, thank you. And so I don't think anything of it. Then we go our separate ways, obviously, because I went out with you on New Year's Eve, and we went down to Tacoma. Awesome Tacoma.
Yeah.
The place to be on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, we were there
If
last
you're
night.
seeing Northwest Royale and Utterance.
Yeah, way to plug.
Thank you.
Do they have a website?
They'll be proud. They
Feel
do.
free.
I would say go to myspace.com/utterance or myspace.com/Northwest Royale.
And I think at least Northwest Royale is our MySpace friend already.
Yeah.
Or at least the individual band members are. They're good guys.
Well,
Not so
and if
I won't
Utterance
say it.
isn't, they should be.
Not so what?
Huh? What?
You're not gonna say it?
No, let's continue.
So anyway, then we don't really hear from him until New Year's Day around 10 o'clock. I get a voicemail. Are we going to play the voicemail? Or should I
Yeah.
just say what it was?
First saved message sent Thursday, January 1st at 9:39 p.m. Hello? Hey, I need a huge favor. I need some money. My debit card doesn't work. And I met a boy and he's really cute.
He needs money.
He met a boy and he's really cute and he also needs money. And he's not sure where he is.
Actually borrowing this phone. I think I'm at Linda's.
Do you know Linda?
Yeah.
No, I think that's the name of the place, right? Wherever he
You know
was.
what? You can call me back on this phone. It's not my phone. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
What I love about this is he starts the message with, "Hey, I need some money." And then he says, "I met a boy," which who gives a shit?
Yeah.
I don't
A really
imagine
cute boy.
Spot having sex with with anybody. Not only that, but then he's like, he's not calling from his phone. It's some random number. We assume he's already lost his phone in a drug-induced haze, right?
Okay, but is this after? Is he still living in the building
is
at
the
this
first,
point?
Yes.
Oh, he
As
is?
far as we
So,
know. As far as we know.
No, he definitely is at this point. So basically what's happened up to this point, to recap, is on New Year's Eve he went out and presumably went to a club and did some club drugs. And then by the time he left this message, which was New Year's night, like New Year's Day night, so like, over 24 hours later, he's asking for money. And he called several more times that night from random phone numbers and
Different
left
phone number every time?
Yeah, and left
So
similar.
he's just borrowing people's cell phones to
Yeah.
make these calls for
I hate
money.
those guys.
Yeah,
Ugh.
and so of course I don't answer, and I don't return his phone calls.
Yeah.
Obviously.
And that's what I was getting at, is in that message you'll hear not only, hey, first thing, I want your money.
Yeah.
Second of all, met a cute guy. This isn't my phone, but feel free to give me a call back. Who's going to give that guy a call back
Yeah.
based on that message?
I think I'm at Linda's.
I have no idea where the shit I am
Yeah.
or
Maybe
what I'm saying.
don't mention the money until you get the call back.
Yeah. So could you just get in your car, go get some money, drive around, and randomly try to find me somewhere in
I
Seattle?
think I'm at Linda's.
Which one is Linda's?
I presume
A
it's
gay
a
bar, I would have to
I don't
assume.
know. We'll have to research.
Yeah. No kidding.
But yeah, so I don't call back, and so the whole next day, Friday, passes, and I don't hear anything from him. And then Saturday, Nick comes over, like midday-ish. We're gonna go get some breakfast, and like right after he gets there, there's a knock on the door, and we're pretty
Oh,
sure.
not only that, but we're talking about him. Like, Margaret is briefing me about the phone call from the night before. This is the first I've heard about his deterioration. I'll pretend like I pronounced that correctly.
Don't want to go back.
You can hear your own deterioration.
Oh, thanks for saying it, Margaret, because I wasn't going to try again. So, yeah, we're actually talking about this exact phone message as there's a knock at the door. And, you know, we kind of expected that it would be him because he lives in the building. We get knocks from him often.
But we're thinking that he's probably at this point come down and he's just going to smoke a cigarette and tell us his crazy story of the
Right,
evening.
like, let's explain this message. Like, I've left many a stupid voicemail and then explained it the next day when I wasn't drunk to somebody.
But
you know?
instead we open the door and he has no pants on.
No pants. No pants. And they're not boxers or tighty whities. They're like little tiny Adidas shorts.
Yeah, like sport shorts.
Yeah, and he's not in the greatest of shape.
And he never wears shorts. Like, he's one of those guys always in pants.
He's
always
so
in pants.
freckled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's got no shoes on, and he's acting so tweaked out. He's like opening the fridge and picking things up.
It was really weird. And then what was it? His story, he came in and he's really just like pacing. And like you said, you know, just frantically opening and closing the fridge door and just acting like this is a guy that for the most part is pretty subdued, pretty calm.
Yeah.
As flamboyant as he is, he's still like, you know, at a 2.
Mellow, yeah.
You sound really homophobic this episode.
My bad. So yeah, he comes in, and then what was his story like? Because he shares a storage shed with you in the building.
Yeah,
is that
and
right?
he said he locked his keys in the storage room. So I offer the obvious
Logically.
thing of, do you need me to let you into the storage room?
Nope. He needs to borrow a phone. Can
he
I borrow?
needs to find Trent.
Trent. He mentions a guy named Trent. He's like, I just need to borrow a phone, and I'll call Trent. Trent is a guy we've never heard of, and we've known Spot for 3 years.
The cute boy from the night before?
Possibly.
Presumably.
These are the conclusions we're making in our own heads, but we don't know that to be true. But sure, we'll let him borrow my cell phone. So he grabs his cell phone. We're expecting him when somebody says they need to borrow your phone, they're gonna make that call in the same house as you at least. So Spot takes my phone, and then what is he? Oh, here's what he says. He grabs my phone. He says, "Well, back to the drawing board," acting like a fucking coked out freak, and then runs out the door with my phone. And I was like, "That's kind of weird, but whatever. It's Spot. He'll come back to us, as dogs do." Named Spot. So Margaret and I, what were we doing? We were playing Uno or something.
Doing something.
Sounds
Yeah.
like fun.
Yeah, Uno's a blast.
You guys
fun.
should really get together.
Especially Uno spin.
I would like to say we were playing Uno. We were playing a card game of some sort, and we smoke a cigarette. We're like, and 45 minutes has passed. We have not heard from Spot. He still has my phone. Oh, and we're wanting to leave for breakfast, and I want my phone back before we leave for breakfast.
Or else we know it's never
And we have to
coming back.
presume he's somewhere in the building still. So an hour passes before you decide you're going to call him from your phone. You're calling my phone from your phone and doesn't answer. We probably call, 4 or 5 times?
Probably like 10 times.
10 times. He finally answers, and
And
he's
acts like nothing's wrong.
yeah. Oh, okay. I'll bring your phone back. So he shows back up at the door, still wearing no pants. This is an hour and a half later. Still no pants. He's
But
had
this time he has a towel with him.
Are these shorts enough to like go to the corner store in and not get kicked out of?
I thought corner store was some kind of euphemism for seeing his cock.
He would not
Well, you
do
said he
that
doesn't eat
normally.
meat. Whoa. But I mean, are they like underwear or
No, I
are they like
explained they're
little
not
jogging
underwear.
shorts?
They're
Yeah,
like
little jogging
shorts.
Exactly.
They're like little indoor
So
soccer
he-
shorts.
He could go to the corner store wearing those, but he's not going to be respected for doing it.
He'd more likely go to the beach.
Okay.
A gay beach. Do those exist?
I'm sure.
They
Gay beach.
fucking should.
In Ibiza, if nowhere else. Ibiza. Yeah, and the weird thing is, unless he deleted the calls, he hadn't even used the phone.
Oh, that's right. He comes back upstairs finally with my phone, still wearing no pants. I get my
Maybe he
phone
was
back.
trying to sell it.
What's that?
Maybe he was trying to sell it.
That thought ran through my mind after everything else that happened. And I like that we keep teasing it and never get to it. Let's end the episode now.
To be continued. Da, da, da.
Yeah, so, I get my phone back. I go through the call history just because I'm curious. What's this guy up to? Because we have a definite inkling. Something's going on with this guy. And it's not a side of him that we're used to seeing. So, what was it? He's like, hey, you guys want to smoke a cigarette? Let's smoke a cigarette. And we're like, yeah, but we're ready to go. Instead of smoking a cigarette here, why don't we go downstairs? We're going to leave the building, smoke a cigarette with us as we're walking out.
And so he says, let me go get some clothes on, which
thank
shows
God.
you that
There you
he was not dressed to go to the corner
And then
store.
he's still somewhat put together in his mind to go put
maybe.
some clothes on.
No, it was more like he disappeared into his drug haze. When he
So
walked
we
away.
go downstairs, getting ready to go to breakfast. We're supposed to meet him outside. We give it, 2 minutes? And then we're like, he's not here yet. Let's just go.
He's saying that in case he listens. We didn't even wait at all. We just walked straight out. And so then,
In case he listens.
Nick, I know I decided not.
From the
I know I said I
grave?
wasn't going to tell this part of the story, but I am.
Oh, thank God. This is good.
So we go out and about doing whatever our thing during the day, and we come back that night after going to the bar, maybe around midnight. And there's a knock on the door, but we've learned our lesson.
Yeah.
We know not to answer the door at this point.
But I want to see what's going on, but I don't want to get close enough to actually be seen. So I didn't actually see out the peephole any of what happened, but I could hear parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it's him knocking. He knocked probably 3 or 4 times.
At midnight,
Louder and angrilier. Is that a word?
as he went along.
I seriously doubt it.
More angrily.
But if angrily were a word, I would know how to spell it.
You do pride yourself on knowing how to spell everything. But so basically what I hear is him getting pissed off that they won't answer, and some guy who's clearly
That you won't answer.
Oh, that
You
I
won't
won't
answer.
answer.
Right.
Sorry. And he's with some guy who's clearly an authority figure, like either a security guard or a cop. And that person is basically saying, well, these people aren't answering, so you have 2 options. Either you can prove to me that you belong somewhere in this building, or, and then mumble, I don't really hear the
Wow.
rest.
But as far as we know, he still has residence within the building, just not with you anymore. At this point,
As
we didn't
far as
know.
we know, yeah.
So that was especially strange, but of course we don't answer, and thank God.
Yeah. So we don't see or hear from him again until, let's see, what day was that now? That was Saturday
No
night.
idea.
So Sunday, we go to see Benjamin Buttons. And Button, sorry. And we are in the movie for about 2.5 hours, or 3. How long, Nick? 3 hours.
Close to 3.
My estimation is 6 hours,
And while I'm in there, I missed 2 calls from the call box at the front door.
which
And-
you know is him.
Which we know is him. And
Yeah.
so we get back here, and meanwhile, it's important to note that it had started snowing. Like, a lot of snow. Like, within our walk from the movie theater to here, like, 1.5 inches was on the ground.
Yeah. And that's after the snow had come and gone, and then all of a sudden it was back again. Just for a day or two, but enough to make it miserable for somebody that can't get into a building.
Bad time to go homeless.
And still, we don't know yet why he can't get in the building, because supposedly he still lives with that other guy.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
But we show up to the
Junos.
building, and he's sitting on a bag of clothes with clothes kind of strewn about all over him at the call box, rocking back and forth with his knees banging together, smoking just like over and over again.
And
in
I
this
want to say
real-
caked up blood under his nose.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Gross.
And he's just
Yeah.
like in this really totally tweaker way over and over again, just saying, it's really cold outside, isn't it, guys? It's really cold out.
Yeah.
And then a hint sort of
No,
way,
no,
maybe?
not really, because we're going to the building, and we still don't know the how extreme the situation has gotten. I mean, we kind of know because he's sitting there spazzing out on the sidewalk, But at the same time, there still could be somewhat of a rational explanation. And he tries to bullshit his way through whatever. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm just waiting. You know, Hillary's going to give me a ride or whatever he said.
Yeah.
So I'm just waiting out here. He didn't ask at any point to get let inside the building. But he did ask, hey, if this falls... Oh, he didn't even ask you. What he said was, so if I can't get a ride, then I'll just get a ride from you, basically, is what he said, talking to you.
And he was trying to get to our friend's house in Queen Anne. And I, of course, and I felt bad about this, but I wasn't going to I couldn't get involved in that situation at this point, obviously.
Yeah. We
so
know
I make
now
up-
that it's getting bleak.
Yeah, I mean, it's really obvious in his behavior that things have gone fucking rapidly downhill.
And in a remarkable amount of time.
I mean, we're
like,
talking
it's
3
a
days
week
at
left.
this point.
3
Not
days.
even.
At that time, yeah, 3 days. You're right.
And so I make up some bullshit about spending the night at Haley's to drive her to work the next day.
Yeah, that's right. And we're trying to sneak out the door so he doesn't see us.
Yeah, so you guys leave like maybe, an hour later, and he's still out there.
And he's still outside in the same spot, sitting on a duffel bag. And then some weird, like, crackhead-looking hobo was talking to him. And Spot pulls something out of his bag. And I can't say what was going on, because how do you become a professional drug dealer in 3 days' time? I don't know. But he was having an exchange with that guy of some kind. And Haley and I are, dodging into the car, hoping he doesn't see us. Because at this point, we don't know if he's going to run up and start, banging on the window.
Haley was with you too?
Yeah, Haley saw the whole thing, like him being outside.
Oh.
And
she'd gone to the movie with us.
Oh, okay.
So several hours pass. You're getting calls from the front door at 5.
Well, no. Before that,
Okay.
I get a call from our friend in Queen Anne, whose house he was going to, who's like, oh my God, have you seen Spot? He just showed up at my house, got past security, didn't even call or anything, and just showed up knocking at the door, looking totally tweaked out. And so he asked our friend basically, like, didn't want to say, oh, you can't stay here, so instead tried to be sly to be like, oh, do you need a ride somewhere?
Yeah.
So he says he does, and asked to go to the 5 Point restaurant, this 24-hour restaurant near the building
Which,
we
as a
lived
tweaker,
in.
don't you love the 24-hour restaurant?
Right? I mean, as a person with nowhere to go, don't you love the
Exactly,
24-hour
yeah.
restaurant? And so while I'm on the phone getting this phone call from our concerned friend who, is just trying to figure out what to do, I mean, in any normal situation, at this point, you'd, like, reach out and call the person's family and be like, your kid's gone fucking crazy.
Exactly.
You need to get up here and straighten him out. But with Spot, that's not an option. And so I'm talking to our friend about what to do about that. Then all of a sudden, again, getting calls from the front door, the call box. Don't answer them. Go to bed, and that's when the 5 o'clock in the morning calls started, which were just...
So we gather that he's not only out there on the porch with his duffel bag full of clothes, but he's been out there at this point all night.
Yeah.
He's calling you at 5:30, leaving
it
messages
snowed.
telling you how cold he is.
Yeah, that he's freezing. These real
Which
pathetic messages.
this puts you in a really
Oh,
bad
man.
place, too, because, he's a good friend as of a week
We don't
ago.
have those messages?
No.
Oh.
Unfortunately not, no.
Sorry, guys.
Exploitation.
It was just too pathetic to keep, It was
Yeah.
it depressed me to even listen to it the first time.
I never heard the official message, but yeah, you relaying it back to me was bad enough.
Yeah.
Like, just imagining him sitting out there in the cold. And now, again, to jump ahead at the end of the story, every time it rains now, I'm fucking sad for him because I know he doesn't have anywhere to live.
I know. I mean, at this point, we can only hope he's figured something out, at least temporarily. But I mean,
Sure, he has drugs.
you're
He's
right.
got that down to a pat.
But I mean, to wrap
Down
this
to a pat?
up,
Is that an
like,
expression?
Okay.
the calls can. Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, you go ahead.
The calls continue into the next day, like sometimes from him, sometimes from other people, either friends of ours he's accosting out on the street to try to call me, or one time the lady who works at the 5 Point laundromat calls, like, your
Obviously,
friend,
like, your friend's been here too long.
yeah,
he needs to
your
leave.
friend
Yeah.
Spot is here and says to come pick him up.
And you know what is funny, Margaret, is the only reason that you're getting all these phone calls is because he's obviously lost his own cell phone somewhere along the line in his drug-induced haze. And yours, and I won't say it, obviously, but yours is a really easy phone number to remember.
Yeah, it's
and I think that's
freakishly
why
easy.
you get the phone calls.
No, you're right, but
you have an unfairly easy phone number to remember.
I know, which has more perks than drawbacks, but this is a definite
And yes,
drawback.
for those that have guessed it already, 123-4567. That's her number.
I thought it was 867-5309. So at this point, I'm like wondering what's going on, and different friends of mine and different people that we know from the building are starting to reach out to us. So come to find out, this is what actually transpired. So we know he goes out and has the crazy New Year's Eve. The next day, continues to stay out on club drugs with these cute boys that he's met.
No pants at any time.
The Saturday night, the night we get that knock on the door from the cop or security guard, what had happened was he had been in the common area room, which has a TV and a couch and a kitchen in it just for common use, totally wide open for everybody to see.
Yeah, we've had a few parties there. It's
We
fun.
have some excellent parties, Baker's Roast.
Yeah, for one, yeah.
And apparently several residents of the building had called security because they'd seen him in there with his clothes and personal possessions just strewn about as if a hurricane had hit.
If you're gonna crash in the common room, why not at least like keep it a little tidy?
I know.
It's like you're begging to get
he
kicked
has to be
out.
so far gone at this point because not only is he doing this in the common room, but a common room that he's been a part of for 4 years now.
And not
Right?
only
He's lived in this
yes.
building that whole time, and he's just shitting it all away.
And not only has he strewn all his shit all over the place, but he's also in only boxers at this point that are dripping wet.
Uh-huh.
Yikes.
Prancing about like real crazily, apparently.
Prancing about, she says.
That was the description that as it was given to me too. But
By
anyway.
a homophobe, by chance?
No. I really think he was drug prancing.
I don't doubt it, yeah.
So by the time security comes back to investigate this, they find him in the spa and pool area shooting up with needles and blood everywhere.
They catch him in the act, like needle in arm, or what do you know about this?
I
Is this
don't know
meth,
any
heroin,
details other.
Crack.
This is the thing, is I've logically deduced it. It couldn't be heroin because he was way too up.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah, that's
puking
true.
on his
That's
toilet
true.
bowl or whatever.
And I've seen a few movies. I know what heroin will do to you.
And I don't think it was coke. I think it was meth. And, my mom had an interesting theory about this, too, because one of the obvious things we've been pondering and really fucking blown away by is
Oh,
how
no
this could
kidding.
happen in such a short period of time. The span of 3 days. And
It
he
really was
became-
that fast, yeah.
It
it's,
really was.
That's
which is the
amazing.
hardest thing to wrap your head around is that it happened that fast. Like,
Yeah.
this is a guy that I've known pretty intimately.
Intimately.
He's made a lot of jokes.
But yeah, for 3 years or more, and all of a sudden, like, we have to deal with this. And I'm sorry, continue.
I mean, he's become the guy who shoots up in the fucking common room,
Yeah.
the pool that every wall is windows of that room. Like,
Wow.
really?
Yeah.
Of all the places?
That's just beyond stupid.
Yeah, it really is. And my mom's theory is that, and my mom, she's kind of, I call her my safety mom, but she's also kind of really is Dr. Mom, sort of.
Yeah.
Her theory is that it's meth, because apparently it's pretty common with, if you do like a shit ton of meth, to have a psychotic break where really you do become like overnight a
Well, it's
completely
all
different
household
person.
chemicals and shit.
Yeah, totally. It's fucked up. So the next day, I'm sorry. This actually happened before he got kicked out. We also found out he went over to another friend of ours' house, and while he asked to just hang out, and while he was there, he asked to take a shower, which they thought was strange, but let him do it, and proceeds to lock himself in the bathroom for an hour and a half, root through all their shit, steal a bunch of prescriptions,
Wow.
and a
the
bunch of
coins.
change. Yeah.
Like, they had change in the bathroom, like in, I don't know, quarters, nickels, dimes.
Yeah.
He stole it all, and their prescription drugs. And he, like, didn't he hunker down in their house for like 10 hours or something crazy?
Yeah, and opened all the windows and turned
And these
all
are
the
people
heat
that
up
he's
all the
built
way.
friendships with over these years, and is now just taking advantage of and exploiting and ruining. Like, he went through every friend he had and just used them for what he could. Not only that, and I'm sorry if I'm getting ahead of the story, But before he was, once it became clear that he was not welcome in the building anymore, he was still pulling shit to the point where, he's made, we mentioned his dog obsession. So he would walk a lot of dogs for people within this very building. And so because he'd built those relationships and knew these people in the building that didn't know what was going on with him, because, you don't know him that well anyway, just if he dog sits for you. But you're also not picking up on any signs that anything is necessarily unusual.
That he's going to be shooting meth up in the sauna later
Exactly.
that night.
And so one particular person, I have no idea who it is, but he dog sat for her and convinced her to let him upstairs, asked to, what was it? He stole her cell phone and her key fob to get into the building and just bolted with it. The same way he did with my phone, but fortunately I got mine back.
Yeah.
But he never gave that back to her, right?
No.
He
And
ran off with her shit. Like, this is the point he's reached.
And so after they found him with the needles in the sauna, obviously, just for the record, the sauna and pool are now closed for full sanitization.
I should hope so. Although I can say, as long as you've been my friend, I've never been in your pool or sauna, your public pool or sauna.
In the 3.5 years I've lived here, I've used it once.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's
I
nice
think
to
I would
have
use
the-
it often if I ever live in a place with an indoor pool.
That's what I thought, but it doesn't really work.
I lived
out
in
that
an
way.
outdoor pool place in Tacoma, and it was bad. There was always the kids and
Leaves.
and not nearly warm enough.
It is Tacoma.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that they're cleaning the sauna.
Yeah.
I think that it'll be a while before parents let their kids go back in.
Totally. So they try to, they offer him medical treatment. He refuses it. They try to get him to leave on his own, and he keeps showing back up in the building. So they've eventually now legally trespassed him from the building for a year. There's signs up all over the place.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing because, again,
Can we
I've
read
been,
that sign?
I've been your friend long enough to know that anything that means anything as far as this building goes, you're going to get notified. And you're going to get notified when you stand in the elevator because they got little signs up. Attention residents, blah, blah, blah. So, all of a sudden this sign appears, and this is our good friend of several years. Attention residents. A former guest of a resident going by the name Spot or Spot, two aliases there, is no longer allowed on the premises according to a no trespass order from the Seattle Police Department. I sound like I don't know how to read or have dyslexia, but really I'm reading off of a cell phone picture and the text is minuscule. So I just want everybody to know that. Please do not let him enter the building under any circumstances. You may notify the police immediately if you see him in the building. So, as our friend, we are legally obligated to call the police. Oh, did I get rid of it?
Yeah. That's right.
We are legally obligated to call the police if we see our friend on the street now.
And
Oh, no, in the
apparently-
building.
You're not
I'm
a
sorry.
resident of the building.
Basically.
And I heard from but now we'd be scared, so we'd call him anyway.
Yeah.
But I did hear from one of our other neighbors, Hillary, actually, that because of this trespass order, he's actually in the past, the span of, a week, been arrested twice as a result of that.
Is that right?
And apparently he's also been in the hospital once. I think probably relating to one of his arrests at one point, just being all crazy drugged out. But he keeps showing up, and it's been over a week and a half now since it's been 1 week exactly tomorrow since we've heard from him. But the last time I got a phone call from him, I did actually brave it and answer the phone because I did a lot of soul searching.
And it's coming from a strange number, of course, right?
Oh, I know it's him.
So
yeah,
you know it's
all these
him,
random
yeah.
numbers. I did a lot of soul searching because, like you've stressed, he was our friend and I did want to help him, but none of us are really in a position to help him, especially till he wants to help himself. And I just thought about it and realized the only thing I could do was try to talk to him, So I have this phone conversation with him where I
Walk us through it, word for word.
I can't remember word for word, but essentially, I ask him what's been going on lately, and comment on the fact that I've noticed he seemed
How long do you talk
really-
about the weather before you move on to his drug addiction?
I move immediately into the drug addiction. This is probably why I haven't heard from him since, I'm guessing.
Well, good for you, though. Like, you need to confront him at this point. Like, what the fuck is going on, guy? Don't pretend like nothing is happening, which
Which he does.
He does, yes.
Yeah. He basically, I say that I've noticed this behavior and that I heard about what happened and ask him to explain it, and he basically says, it's all lies. And like it's everybody just ganging up on him.
Meanwhile, I've never, as often as I frequented this building, never has anybody been name by name when I'm staring at a sign in the elevator. Like, this person he's obviously done something to wear out his
seriously
welcome
wrong.
within this building.
Yeah,
and within his
there's-
friendship group.
And there is no reason that anyone in the building would make that up either, I mean,
Yeah.
all these people cared about him and tried to do it without even involving the cops
He had a
until
lot
they
of,
forced
at
it.
least, even casual friends. He knew everybody in the building. He was a
called
building
himself
personality.
Miss Belto.
Yeah, yeah.
So I call him out on his drug use and, ask him, he says it's all lies.
By the way, this is a conversation you imagine having through the balcony, right? Like yelling out the balcony in the street. This is something you scripted in your head.
I just thought he was going to show up one day like, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, give me some money.
Right,
you know?
and you can't let him in. There's a sign on the door.
Exactly.
So but he's still trying.
So
Like,
he's
if he's been arrested twice, sure, he's still trying to get in the building knowing he's trespassing.
Well, I think by now he's learned his lesson. That's probably why we haven't gotten calls from the front door.
Okay.
So I call him out on his drug use, and he insists that it's all lies and that everything was made up. And when I say, well, what about the blood? He says, oh, it was a bloody nose. I've had those since childhood. Oh, well, what about the needles? Oh, I can't speak to the needles, is what he tells me. And so
Spock cannot speak to the needles. What does that even mean? I can't speak to the needles. Meaning I haven't made up a lie for that one yet.
Exactly. That's beyond my drug-induced state right now. But, and so I say, well, you're banned from the building. I mean, because he's calling me, really, his purpose is to try to get me to call other people in the building to come help him out. And I'm like, well, why do you want me to call these people? They can't help you, you aren't allowed in the building. And he says that, he knows
He does
that.
know that, of course he knows.
Acknowledges knowing that. And I ask him what he's going to do, and this is funny, right? He tells me he's going to get a great lawyer.
What's he going to pay him in?
I don't
Crack
know.
rocks?
I don't know. He thinks he's got a great case for wrongful eviction, though.
So he's going to sue the building. His name's not on any lease anywhere. But he should be getting like
Nor
a
has it
defense
probably
lawyer.
ever been.
Plus, I don't think the court looks too kindly on, open use of needle.
Yeah.
In a common area
intravenous
pool.
drugs.
Shooting up in a share pool is not going to win you the jury's vote.
We got ladies buying shoes over the internet in this building. It's a classy joint. Have those awkward elevator conversations.
Oh, is that what you were referring to?
Yeah,
I knew
can
that
live
sounded
in this
familiar.
building.
Margaret loves to banter with her
She was a
neighbors.
champ.
I'm chatty.
The heels broke on my shoes, and I went online.
That was the most painful 6-second elevator ride of our lives.
It was awesome, and
You
I
are
do
so
love
chatty
going-
and personable.
But don't you find it awkward that like this lady, we ran into her like 3 separate times. It was like in the mailroom, she talked to you. Then I was completely in her way when she tried to exit it.
and Margaret has a box the size of Utah that we're
Well,
also
that's
trying to
the
fit
thing.
the
Then
elevator.
you go into that other room to get your package.
Where she also
She was
is.
in there too. And then we all get on the elevator. She gets on the elevator, and I'm thinking, this is so awkward. Then there's 3 of us. We've each, me and Nick have a duffel bag. You have a box
Full of
that's-
equipment.
Yeah, it's like a big flat screen TV box. And we just come into the elevator with her and then talk about shoes and the internet.
We didn't talk about anything. We were just silently judging Margaret
I would
the
just
whole
be
time.
walking away after the conversation going, stupid. That's what I do at work when I have to make a lame joke or respond to a lame joke with my table. Just walk away going, God, I'm fucking awful at that. I hate it.
But the thing is, I run into the same neighbors in the elevator all the time, so it's kind of like we have a little weird relationship.
In which you
Very
talk
weird.
about shoes.
Yeah.
Very blandly.
Well, she clearly was carrying a box of shoes she
Yes.
just purchased
Did
from
you-
So
me.
why not talk about it?
Point to the warning sign and say, hey, I know that guy.
God.
I've thought about that. Haley, one of the customers that at Haley's work lives in this building.
Haley, our good friend, future guest at the show.
Where does she work? What does she do? Is she a waitress or-
sells adhesives and
yeah, she's basically she works a desk
tapes
job,
and
right?
adhesives.
She answers phones.
Yeah,
and stuff.
she's inside sales.
Sounds
Okay.
very Dunder Mifflin.
It
yeah,
does very Dunder
it's
Mifflin.
exactly Dunder Mifflin. I mean, really. But one of their customers lives here, and she almost confronted him the other day at work about it, but didn't want to creep him out.
How do you guys feel about living in a paperless world?
Office joke?
Yeah.
I know what that's like though. Like if you know something about like everyone in this building knows about it now. Was there like does the condo have like a what do they call them, like a board?
A homeowners association board.
Homeowners association.
Yeah,
Sure they do,
totally
yeah.
Do they have elections within the building?
Absolutely.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, they have all those.
Was there ever did anyone ever talk to you about him? About it to like I don't know, specifically, do you think he'll come back? Tell him not to come back.
No, but I did at one point reach out to the manager, which is where I got a lot of the details of that
Because
night when
like
they
the
found
sign
him.
says a former guest of a resident,
But
and
that
you're one
also-
of those residents.
It is one of those. But because I could tell he was in a downward spiral, I had taken a lot of efforts when he moved out
Yeah.
to make sure
Which was a
that
smart
the
move.
building knew that I was not
Oh, yeah.
affiliated with me or with him. He was not my guest anymore.
But what's funny is he was such a good friend and living with you for a short while. Everybody that knew him in the building probably associates him with us, even now.
Totally.
And so they're reading this sign every time they get in the elevator about don't let this guy in the building. And then we're in the elevator with them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're responsible."
She thinks we're gonna steal her shoes and give them to sell.
Our only
Spot.
There's gonna be so much editing on your
We'll
part.
play a drinking game. I'm gonna have to bleep out the word, and that's it. There's just gonna be moments of silence every time.
I know.
The only saving grace we have, though, is that a lot of
Holly
other
Hunter?
people
Best joke of the night.
is that a
I
lot of
actually have a trophy for you.
Is it an empty beer bottle? Is that a lot of other people in the building also knew him really well and were close to him, so we're not the only ones with the bad rap.
Yeah. But I'd say we were the closest to him, at least right before it happened. Wouldn't you say?
That's true. Well, at least not for the 4 months right before it happened.
Yeah. I don't know, man. You know what's sad is I bought him that ABBA DVD, and what was the other one I bought him? Depeche Mode.
Depeche Mode.
I bought him some live concert DVDs thinking he'd love it. He's gay. He loves that stuff. And he did love it. And now I know that he sold it for drugs, and that makes me sad.
Wouldn't you rather him do that than give head in the Greyhound bathroom?
I don't know.
Would he do that? He doesn't eat meat.
I think that's the second time you've made that same joke tonight.
Out of 3 times that I really wanted to.
Hey, let's end this whole episode on a dick joke.
Let's is this like officially an ending now?
The end is
Margaret,
kids don't
thank
do
you so
drugs.
much for having us, for being here.
She's having us?
She's having us at her house.
That's true. Thank you again. And he is Mexican, strangely.
Yes.
But is he Spanish?
No.
I thought they were the same thing.
No.
I apologize.
Okay, Grandma. I don't say Mexican. That's racist.